Because of the budget, I thought, well, it'd be nice to do this film with non-SAG. So I place enormous emphasis on casting. I will spend 3 or 4 months casting a film. I will usually see every actor myself and every callback. I love the process. It's a discovery process. I learn more about my own material and how to direct scenes, and often get these incredible gifts from actors where they do something or they bring an attack to something I never anticipated. But we spent months looking at non-SAG people. We found the best. We culled through them, and we did a reading. And I looked at the reading of the screenplay, and I said, "What am I doing with myself? Where's the nearest oven?" You know, and so then we decided. I called the casting director I had worked with, and within 3 weeks we were able to see SAG people, and she brought in some very good people. And no, I did not have Lauren Ambrose in mind. Lauren just tumbled in, gave a reading that was just really terrific. Actually, the first person to really give a reading, and it's the first time ever that I've offered a part to someone without a second or third reading, was Jennifer Dundas Lowe. It was perfect. It was the absolute perfect reading, one which she could never duplicate again. But I said, okay, look, you want it, the part is yours. And she's a wonderful actress. Lauren was a more difficult choice, only because there was so much weight on Lauren's young back, if you will. She has to carry the film. She plays a character who's essentially passive for a good part of the film. That's a really, really difficult thing to do. And I think she did a wonderful job.
I hate this place. So leave. Just like that.
Well, I know you have the restaurant.
No, I don't care about the restaurant. It's Neil's problem. I just need a car.
The way I think the performances became as good as they are in this, however, whatever level they achieved, was first by working the material, working it to get it as honest and as good as it could be, so that the actors could grab hold of it and play it. For instance, one scene that takes place in the bar where Brad is very drunk and Jenny is trying to comfort him, and we had to get that scene. It was 24 setups, and we had to be out of there because we could not come back to that location. So we had the rest of the night, and when morning came, the shoot was over. And we started the shoot, and Jenny said, look, there's something wrong here with this scene. And although we had rehearsed it and tried it, it didn't become apparent till we were on set. And there was a problem with the writing. So we had to rewrite the scene, and then I, of course, had to figure out a way to drop something like 12 or 14 setups in the shoot. But it's keeping the material so an actor can actually play it, keeping it in character, keeping it honest. That's in the writing. The second part of the process is what I would call the pre-production rehearsal, which I like to do, and that is working the material with the actor, finding letting them ground themselves in the material, finding out what doesn't work, finding out if an actor can't say a line and they try it 15 times in a row, there's probably something wrong with that line if they're good actors. So you always sort of want to be protective of the material, but you also want to acknowledge if an actor has a problem. And some of that's the kind of thing you work out, what I call work out in pre-production rehearsal. I don't like rehearsing once I get down there. I oftentimes will shoot a scene cold, because sometimes you have first shot actors, first take actors, and sometimes you have 50th take actors. And of course, when they're in a two-shot together, you're totally screwed. The way I like to work, though, is I generally like to let the actors move through the scene and make their choices, and then adjust the blocking to that. There was one scene, for instance, in the piercing shop where it required Frankie to get up and leave the shop at the end of the scene. We shot the whole scene. We were pressing. It was the first week. We were just behind schedule. It was like 5 in the morning. Everybody was exhausted. We could not get the scene to work. And I had to come back and reshoot the whole thing. After discussing it with Ciro Silva, who was one of my students also, was the associate producer, it became clear that the blocking of having Frankie have to get up and leave the chair, went back all the way to the beginning of the scene. It was a choice that she couldn't make naturally out of the scene. And trying to work her performance to get there was throwing the whole scene off. So by changing that action at the back, we reshot the scene, and it played much, much better. My position on directing is you say as little as you possibly can, speak only when it's absolutely necessary, especially when you have really good actors. And two, for me, my role is to sort of be the arbiter of whether or not they're getting the moments. And for that, I mean, I think the hardest thing for a director is to be in the moment with the actors, experiencing the take with all this insanity going on around you. And that's what I was able to do. My responsibility to them was to make sure that they look good.
Tell Neil to go fuck himself. This place is yours too.
This place is yours? It's my family.
It's half yours, so I can half do what I want. So you better not fuck around, because she'll fire your ass.
Why were you in Arizona? Oh, because my parents moved there when they retired.
Holy shit, was it hot in Arizona. You know how they say there's no humidity there? My ass, I nearly sweated my tits off. Frankie's dad was like, don't leave the house without your water bottles. No one in Arizona leaves their house without their water bottles. A couple of kids went out in the desert with a six-pack of Pepsi and never came back.
But you did, didn't you? That's because she never left the house without her water bottle.
You know, there'd be times when I didn't know how to get them to go where they needed to go, but I knew they hadn't arrived. So we would try it again and again until, you know, we would try different things. And if the actor wasn't happy, I generally went again. Sometimes, though, the politics of power would force a complete reversal of that. There was one big emotional scene for Lauren, which she couldn't get to. And then, you know, it had to do with her own personality. And it's what she's called, the ugly, you're so ugly, the lifeguard says to her, you know. And she just couldn't get to be where she needed, you know. And I wouldn't, you know, after 3 takes, I said, that's it. Because we were having sort of a thing about who was in charge of the set that day. And so even though I knew I didn't have it and I had to come back, write a new tale to the scene, and it was necessary to do that to let Lauren understand that as good as she was, that I was still the director of the film and I would be making the decisions and not her. And so sometimes, you know, directing is not only just about finding it, but it's trying to deal with the personalities and accommodate them in a way that is productive, hopefully.